So yeah, but I think the best is yet to come, if I'm honest.
Oh, well, great. Well, I look forward to hearing more about it. Are you able to share anything that you've got any plans for business or new business?
We're going to be launching a red wine. So right now we just have a Prosecco and we have a Pinot Grigio sparkling rosé. And the plan is to launch a red, because our social media, whether that be LinkedIn, Instagram, people are constantly saying, oh, when will you release a red? When will you release the red? I'd love a red. I'd love a red. So it's kind of like, okay, well, you've asked enough now. I'll give you one. So we're working on that in the background now. So hopefully by the end of this year, we will have been able to release our red.
So will that be, again, low sugar, organic, vegan?
Yeah.
So with the brand values?
Yeah, we're going to always, everything that we release, we're going to try our best to stick within those kind of key factors. And we always try and create wines with low sulfite as well, because even though, of course, like people say, like, oh, it's alcohol, like you'll always get a hangover. If the sulfites are low and the sugar is less, you will just find that the hangover is less. Obviously, if you were going to drink 3 bottles of it, of course, you're going to get a hangover. Or a couple of glasses of a wine that's low in sulfite, low in sugar, you'll really see the difference between a couple of glasses with a high sugar, high sulfite wine.
Well, I look forward to trying that as well then. Are you working with a particular country, or have you got producers, like vineyards?
Yes. Because we have a Prosecco, it has to come from Italy. Prosecco come from Italy. So, yeah, the
red wine I was talking, sorry, the red wine.
Yeah. Yes, we're getting that from Italy as well. We just want to kind of try and keep it in one place if we can. Also, our wine is just amazing because it's family run. They've got great morals. They're obsessed with their grape. So the reason that we don't have to add like a load of additional sugar and stuff is because their grape is so phenomenal and they're obsessed with their grape. So we feel like, because we know how they take care, how they work, how they're happy to create a wine that's specifically for us and isn't white labeled for lots of brands, we feel like we just want to try and maintain that relationship. However, when we have got like the recipe for the red and it's created, if we think, oh, that's not good enough, then we will look at elsewhere. I've considered looking into French reds. So that could be next, but I don't know. We're gonna try and stick with Italy, but we're gonna see.
I'm sure you'll enjoy that process.
Yeah, I know. How nice of wine tasting.
Right, let me just check my questions then. So, female in business question then. You must have worked with many successful female influencers and colleagues along the way as well. So have you found there's been any commonalities between those successful female individuals in terms of like their mindset or their values, approach to business? Is there anything that's been like a common theme running between them?
Yeah, I mean, drive is always massive. It's always, a big thing. But saying that, if someone's got a brilliant personality, then drive isn't as kind of necessary as long as you've got a good team around you. So I have had a client previously who is definitely not driven. Like, I would not refer to her as driven. She is lazy as anything, in fact. But she is super funny. People love her. Her personality is great. When you rag it out of her, she's amazing. But you literally have to rag it out of her. So for her, it was more about having a great team around her that would drag her out of the bed, force her to do what she's got to do, run her diary, run her life. So for her, it was all about just her personality. While the other ones that have been successful, they're not necessarily as funny or as well loved, but because they're so driven and they dedicate, every day to being better and doing what they've got to do, then they also become successful. So there is, there's different ways of doing things. However, I would say that really you need to have drive if you're going to be successful, unless you're in a position where you can have a team of people around you, like Beyonce style, who's gonna, rag you up, put your makeup on your face, get you a hairdresser and make you do what you've got to do. But drive, ambition is a key thing for most of the successful influencers.
And would you say that is the same for yourself? Like, how have you been? What sort of mindset, skills, values do you think you hold that has made you so successful? Because many people launch a business and don't follow it through, or they give up, or it's just not successful and they drop out.
Yeah.
And what do you think there is about you, Kath, that made you so successful?
I do think resilience. I think resilience is just key. And actually now saying that, our influencers are very resilient as well. You know, they will have people throw all types of crap at them and they'll brush it off and they'll get up and they'll go again. And they will brush trolls and things like that and they'll brush it off and they'll go again. So again, our influencers are very resilient. I think that I'm very resilient in that, like, if I get rejected, I don't cry about it, or maybe I do for 2 seconds, and then okay, next. We're on to. I'm not afraid of rejection. I've experienced enough kind of bad things happen to me to know, like, oh, the world's not going to end. I'll be upset today, but tomorrow I'll go again. So I never like get knocked down and don't get back up again. I just get knocked down and then go again and go again and go again. And people always laugh and say, oh God, you're always bashing down doors. And I'm like, well, yeah, because I'm not just because one person says no, I'll just keep hammering on the door until, you know, hopefully someone listens. So yeah, resilience is a big one. Drive as well, because I was never, don't get me wrong, like I've always been like quite good at like school and uni, but only like, you know, a B student, let's say, while as my friends were A-star students. My friends were much cleverer than me, but have they necessarily gone on to do better than me? Not really, because they don't have that drive, they don't have that resilience, they don't have that get up and go that I kind of naturally have always had. So even though they're on paper smarter than me and they could run rings around me in an exam, they certainly couldn't beat me in a business.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. So has that been, do you think that's your personality? That is just your personality, or is that evolved?
I do think there's an element of natural, just my natural personality for sure. Because even like when I was younger, I was still very driven. I always had goals and I always knew I wanted like money. I always knew that. I was always like, even when I was 10, oh, can't wait. I want money. I was writing business plans and pictures and everything when I was like 14. So I always knew. So there is an element of that. But as I say, I went to live in America when I was 19. I stayed there till I was 21. I was living in Kentucky. Now, when I worked for the Marriott Hotel, and it was an internship, so I worked in basically every department. So all the sales jobs, like selling weddings, selling hospitality space, selling, like I worked on the restaurant, I worked on reception, I was upselling. And when I got there, I was very, very like scared and shy, because I was like, what if people can't understand me when I speak, you know? And funnily enough, they all thought I was very posh, but I was like, haha, I'm not posh, I'm from Liverpool. But that was posh. Like when I spoke, they were like, oh, you're so posh, like the Queen. I'm like, yeah, that's me. I'm so posh. But I obviously wasn't. But I was scared that people wouldn't understand me. I was so scared to actually just go and approach people. But I got shoved out by, you know, I really owe a lot to those like team leaders who were like, right, go and do it now. You will be fine. You will smash it. And they stood by me and they taught me everything and they told me I was amazing until I believed it myself. And I tried to take that with me into when I'm managing people. Like they were down my ear saying like, you've got this, you're amazing, you're so good at this, you're going to upsell more than anyone else, you're going to be the best salesperson, so much that I believed it. And then that's exactly what I went on to be. I was always the best salesperson, I was always the top seller, I always, you know, got everything I wanted. And I went on to be that because of them kind of backing me and feeding it into my ear. And I try and do the same with my team. So I say, you absolutely can do that. You are amazing. You are great. You don't tell me you can't do it, because you can. And I just think that getting me when I was very young, like that, like 19, and drilling that into me, it stuck with me ever since, because I came straight home. What you find in America, it's like, if you're the top seller, it's the coolest thing in the world. You know, the screaming, the shouting, yes, you've done it, you're amazing, blah, blah, blah. You go back to England, if you're top seller, that's not cool. You're not cool. You're a little dog. Oh my God, like, you're the top seller. Oh, who cares? And I'd be like, yeah, I am. I don't care. You're shit at your job and I'm not. And that's literally how I was. And then I've always just been that way since. I've always had the goal of being the best performer, the best employee, the best salesperson. And I just carried on being that way until I was able to work for myself.
Oh, nice story. I've got friends in Kentucky, and they speak exactly like that to me. When we have conversations like the British versus the US, like, sorry if anybody from the US is watching this, but I love that personality, because it is so passionate. Yeah. You are the best. Confident. We talked earlier about imposter syndrome, but you know, there is no such thing. You can do it. Just get on with it. Take action. Come on. And then that whole like cheerleading. I love it.
So do I. I absolutely love it. I love the vibe.
Yeah, but it's very, very different in the UK. Very, very, very different. Yeah. Okay, so ThinK Wine then. Where did that idea come from, and how did you spot the gap in the market?
So basically, because I was working with influencers, I was going to so many events, and obviously at these events you get a glass of Prosecco or a glass of champagne on arrival, and you often get, you know, free wine throughout the whole night. And I was just rapidly gaining weight. I've always battled with my weight anyway, so sugar's always been a bit of like an enemy. And so I was like, imagine you could create a wine that had just way less sugar and was much better for you, but still had the alcohol, because of course, like, to reduce the calories, you have to reduce the alcohol. And it was a fleeting thought that crossed my mind, because I was like, I would love this. So then I started looking into, oh, well, can I buy it and then drink it? And then, you know, I'll keep that. And if I'm going to an event, I'll just have a glass of that and I won't drink their wine. And I could not find anything. Anyway, eventually I did find one. I found one brand, and they sold it in Selfridges. And it was the worst tasting wine ever. I won't name and shame them, but honestly, it was like, when something hits the back of your throat and it's just acid. It was the worst. It tasted terrible. And I thought, oh my God, if this is all I can find that's remotely what I want to do. Because now there's like Aldi's Own, there's, you know, there is competitors now. But at that point, there really wasn't. That was the only thing on the market. And I thought, no, I can do this way better. And that's basically it. It was that thought. And I am the type of person that if I think something's a really, really good idea, then I can't let it go until it's done. I have to do it.